I just wanted to take a couple minutes to show you how to use the Google extension called Google Keep. It is basically a extension that allows you to keep a bunch of different notes in a bunch of different formats, and there's a couple other really neat features. I figured it might help you as a teacher, or it might be a way to encourage your students to be organized. So here's how you get to there. When you click on your 9Grid when you're signed into Google, and then you click More. Down on the second portion of the screen, you'll see that there's this little yellow icon with a light bulb. When you click on that, it'll bring you into Google Keep. Now, if you haven't used it before, you'll basically see a big empty screen. I like to use it to just basically keep track of the things that I'm working on in a list format, as well as if you were to scroll down, you can see just different projects that I am working on. So basically how it works is you'll notice that up at the top it has pinned notes, which are basically notes that you want to move to the top half of your screen. So based off of importance or however you decide to use it is really up to you. And then on the bottom half of the screen, it has all of your other notes. You'll notice that you can also color coordinate them. You can add links, you can actually add in pictures, and I will show you how to do all of those things in just a second. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top. Right in this kind of looks like a search bar, you can see it says take a note. This is where you'll begin creating a note. So I'm just going to make a random note about things to do. All right, so when you begin creating a note, you notice that this top portion was the title of your note. That'll appear in bold, and then kind of the guts of your note will be in the lower half. Now, as you start typing in different things that you want to include in this note, you can change the color. I'll start over on the left. You can set up reminders right in Google Calendar that will actually pull up a reminder on your screen for whatever that note is. So say we were to scroll down, I know that Digital Learning Day happens on February 22nd. I could set up a reminder for this. Maybe I want to do it on the day before. So I'm going to click February 21st, not 22nd, so that I have a reminder the day before it actually happens. And you'll see that it just added it as a little tag at the bottom here. I'm going to go back up to the note that we started creating. Things to do this winter. I'm going to click back on that. Other than reminders, you can also add collaborators to your notes. So pretend you and your PLC group was working on a list of things that you wanted to accomplish this month. You could share that note with each of those PLC members, and everyone would have editing access to that note. You can also change the colors, like I said before. You can insert photos, or you can upload them. You can basically plug in any kind of photo that you'd like. Obviously, you'll have to pay attention to where you're saving it, whether it's on your desktop, in your downloads, right in Google Drive. Next to the add image, there's an archive option. Now, if you archive your notes, they will no longer appear on this main Google Keep screen, but you're still able to access them. So if I were to archive this note, even though I'm not done working on it, here's kind of what would happen. It would no longer appear on your screen. But if you scroll over on the left side, you can see that there's an archive option. If I click on that, it'll show everything that I've archived throughout the past. Now, if you wanted to truly get rid of that note, what you do is you click on the three dots over on the right side and you delete that note completely. Now, I go back out here. I actually want to unarchive that. There we go. So I no longer want this note to appear in my archived notes. I want it to appear on that main screen. So I'm going to actually unarchive it and then go back to my notes. All right, let's continue work. Oopsies. Let's continue working on that. All right. So one of the last things I want to show you is when you click on these three dots on your main note, you have a couple additional options. You can add in drawings, you can add in labels, which basically allow you to access your notes a little bit easier. So I'm just for the sake of today, I'm going to add a label. And you'll see that I already have other labels in my Google Keep account that I have other notes tied into. I'm just going to add the label winter, and I'll kind of show you what happens when you do that. And a movie. All right, and we're just gonna use those as really brief random examples. All right, so when I click on these three dots, we just talked about adding a label. I'm going to kind of show you what that means. So I added the winter label. Over on the left side of your screen, you'll see that I have other labels that I've created in the past. Now, what you can use these for is basically grouping your notes. So if I were to click on the winter label, I only have one note that has to do with winter. If I were to click on library, I have none, which is kind of funny because all of these have to do with the library. So I'm going to go ahead and add that library label to all of these. Awesome. So basically, anytime you want to recall notes that you've created in the past, if you attach them to a label, it'll pull up all of them at one time. For example, all of my library notes, it's going to show when I click on that library label. All of my winter notes, it'll pull up if I click on that winter label. Now, anytime you want to go back and see every note that you've created, all you have to do is click on that note option over on the left side of your screen. Some of you might be wondering, how in the world did I get basically a checklist as one of these notes? Anytime you're creating a note, you will notice right here it says new list. So if you want to create a list of things or a checklist of things that you want to do, you can just click on that checklist feature and you'll be able to fill out your note in that format, which will then appear like this once you're done. A little bit earlier, I talked about pinned notes and how they're pulled up to the top. If you ever want to have certain notes appear at the top half of your screen, here's how you, in fact, pin them. Up in the top right corner, you can see that there's this little tack looking thing. If you click on that, you'll notice that it's going to pull that note way up to the top. All right, is there anything else I can show you? We already talked about reminders and adding labels and changing color. I think we've talked about just about everything. All right, so how you use Google Keep is completely up to you. Oh, I thought of one more thing. Before you go, Google Keep allows you to take any of these notes that you've created and actually turn them into a Google document just by the click of a button. So if you or your students were creating notes and you wanted this as a Google Doc rather than just a note in Google Keep, what you would do is click on the More button in the top, bottom right, and you would copy to Google Docs. Okay. When you do that, if I were to open up another tab and I went to Google Docs, it will, in fact, create a whole new Google Doc that has all of that information that you had in that Google Note. And you'll see that the one that I'm talking about is right here, things to do this winter. Awesome. Now, obviously, the background of the note didn't change, or the document isn't purple like the Google Note is, but it did include the guts of that note. Okay. So anyway, I hope that this extension can help you in some way, shape, or form. I showed you how to utilize it on my Mac. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different if you use the iPad app that's available in self-service or in the App Store. If you want any help with anything, or you want to think of an idea of how to incorporate it into your class with your students, please feel free to come on down and chit-chat with me. I am more than willing to help. Have a good rest of your day.